The Alien Dilemma. The Zarthian Empire stood uncontested at the pinnacle of galactic civilization. For millennia, they had reigned supreme, their technology so advanced it bordered on the miraculous. Their sleek, crystalline ships traversed the cosmos with ease, their cities floated serenely in the atmospheres of gas giants, and their greatest minds unraveled the secrets of the universe as effortlessly as a child solving a simple puzzle. At the heart of their dominion hung Nexus Prime, a colossal space station that served as the seat of the Zarthian government and the nexus of their vast interstellar network. It was a marvel of engineering, a structure so complex and sophisticated that most species in the galaxy couldn't even comprehend its basic functions. High Counselor Zixera stood at the panoramic viewpoint of Nexus Prime's central chamber, her iridescent scales shimmering under the light of 1,000 stars. Her 4 eyes, each a different hue, scanned the intricate holographic displays floating before her. Something was wrong. "Report," she commanded, her melodious voice tinged with an edge of concern. Chief Engineer Vexlor approached, his tentacles writhing nervously. "High Counselor, we've detected an anomaly in the station's core systems. The quantum entanglement matrix is showing signs of destabilization." Zixera's secondary hearts skipped a beat. The quantum entanglement matrix was the cornerstone of Zarthian technology, the key to their mastery over space and time. If it failed, how severe is the problem? She asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. Vexlor's skin rippled, a sign of deep distress. "Critical, High Counselor. Our best estimates give us no more than 3 standard cycles before total system failure." The implications were staggering. Without the matrix, Nexus Prime would lose its ability to maintain its position in spacetime. Trillions of lives across the galaxy would be affected as the entire Zarthian network collapsed. "Surely our scientists can solve this," Zixera said, more to reassure herself than anything else. "We are Zarthians. There is no problem we cannot overcome." Vexlor's tentacles drooped. "We've applied every known solution, High Counselor. Our most brilliant minds have been working nonstop, but the problem defies all conventional understanding. It's as if the very laws of physics are changing around us." Zixera felt a chill run through her body. This was unprecedented. In all their history, the Zarthians had never encountered a challenge they couldn't overcome. Their technology, their intellect, had always been enough. Until now. "What are our options?" she asked, dreading the answer. Vexlor hesitated, his skin cycling through a spectrum of colors. "There is one possibility, High Counselor, but I fear you won't like it." "Speak, Vexlor. This is no time for reticence." The chief engineer took a deep breath. "We've exhausted all options within our understanding of science, but there are species in the galaxy who approach problems differently. Species whose minds work in ways we can't predict or replicate." Zixera's eyes narrowed. "You can't possibly be suggesting." "Humans, High Counselor," Vexlor said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I believe we need a human engineer." The chamber fell silent. The very idea was absurd, almost heretical. Humans were a primitive species, barely out of their Stone Age by Zarthian standards. Their technology was crude, their understanding of the universe laughably simplistic. And yet, humans had a reputation. Throughout the galaxy, stories circulated of human ingenuity, of their ability to solve problems in ways that defied logic. They called it thinking outside the box, a concept that the hyper-rational Zarthians struggled to grasp. Zixera turned back to the viewpoint, gazing out at the stars. The fate of the Zarthian Empire hung in the balance. Could she really entrust it to a member of a species that still relied on combustion engines and silicon-based computing? "Find me a human," she said at last, her voice hard with determination. "Find me the best engineer their primitive world has to offer. And pray to the cosmic harmony that their reputation for problem-solving isn't exaggerated." As Vexlor hurried away to carry out her orders, Zixera continued to stare into the void of space. For the first time in her long life, she felt a flicker of doubt. The Zarthians had long viewed humans as little more than clever animals, a species to be studied and perhaps one day uplifted if they proved worthy. Now the future of the most advanced civilization in the galaxy rested in human hands. The irony was not lost on Zixera. If they succeeded, it would force a fundamental reassessment of humanity's place in the cosmic order. If they failed, well, there wouldn't be much of a cosmic order left to worry about. As the gears of the vast Zarthian bureaucracy began to turn, setting in motion the unprecedented task of recruiting a human, Zixera allowed herself a moment of philosophical reflection. Perhaps this was the universe's way of teaching the Zarthians humility, or perhaps it was simply random chance, a cosmic joke at their expense. Either way, the clock was ticking. Somewhere on the blue-green world the humans called Earth, an engineer was about to receive the surprise of a lifetime, and the fate of galaxies hung in the balance. The unlikely hero. Sarah Chen sighed heavily as she tightened the last bolt on the ancient air conditioning unit. The summer heat in Houston was relentless, and the garage where she worked felt like an oven. Wiping sweat from her brow, she stepped back to admire her handiwork. "There you go, old girl," she murmured to the machine. "Should keep you running for another decade." At 32, Sarah was arguably one of the most brilliant engineers on Earth, though few knew it. Her uncanny ability to understand and fix complex systems had earned her a reputation as a miracle worker among a select group of clients. But to most of the world, she was just another mechanic, tinkering with outdated equipment in a rundown garage. As she cleaned her tools, Sarah's mind wandered to the patents gathering dust in her drawer. Revolutionary designs for energy-efficient engines, adaptive materials, and even theoretical models for faster-than-light travel, all rejected by various companies and institutions for being too unconventional or impractical. The sound of her phone ringing snapped her out of her reverie. She fished it out of her pocket, frowning at the unfamiliar number. "Sarah Chen speaking," she answered. "Ms. Chen," a crisp, official-sounding voice responded. "This is Dr. Eliza Thornton from NASA. We need you to come in immediately. It's a matter of utmost importance." Sarah's heart raced. NASA. She'd applied there years ago, but never heard back. "I'm sorry, but is this some kind of joke? I assure you, Ms. Chen, this is no joke. A car is already on its way to pick you up. Pack for an extended trip. That's all I can say over the phone." Before Sarah could respond, the line went dead. She stood there, stunned, until the honk of a car horn outside jolted her back to reality. 12 hours later, Sarah found herself aboard a secret government shuttle, breaking through Earth's atmosphere. Her mind reeled as she tried to process the whirlwind of events. The classified briefing, the urgent need for her specific skills, the revelation that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. As the shuttle approached a massive, shimmering structure that couldn't possibly be of human origin, Sarah's scientific curiosity overrode her fear and disbelief. "Welcome to Nexus Prime, Ms. Chen," the pilot announced. "Home of the Zarthian Empire, and currently their biggest headache." The docking procedure was smoother than any landing Sarah had ever experienced. As the airlock cycled, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay beyond. The door hissed open, revealing a vast, gleaming chamber that defied human architecture. And there, waiting to greet her, stood creatures straight out of a sci-fi novel. High Counselor Zixera stepped forward, her iridescent scales shimmering. "Welcome, Sarah Chen of Earth. We are the Zarthians, and we require your assistance." Sarah's eyes widened as she took in the alien's four-eyed gaze and the floating holographic displays surrounding them. Part of her wanted to laugh, to deny the reality of what she was seeing. But the engineer in her was already analyzing, observing, cataloging every detail. I'm honored," Sarah managed to stammer out. "But I'm not sure how I can help beings as advanced as yourselves." Zixera's expression was unreadable, but Sarah sensed a mix of desperation and distaste. "Believe me, Ms. Chen, this is not a decision we made lightly, but we face a crisis beyond our comprehension, and your species has a reputation for unconventional problem-solving." As Sarah explained the situation with the quantum entanglement matrix, Sarah's mind raced. The technology involved was centuries, if not millennia, beyond current human understanding. Yet the principles, the underlying physics, resonated with theories she'd been working on in secret for years. "May I see the affected systems?" Sarah asked, her initial awe giving way to professional curiosity. Vexlor, the chief engineer, stepped forward. "Follow me," he said, his tentacles gesturing towards a gleaming corridor. "But be warned, human. Our technology is far beyond your comprehension. Do not touch anything without express permission." As they walked, Sarah couldn't help but notice the looks of disdain and skepticism from the Zarthian crew they passed. She was used to being underestimated, but this was on a whole new level. The central engineering bay of Nexus Prime was a marvel that would have brought tears to the eyes of any human scientist. Structures of impossible geometry pulsed with energy, holographic interfaces flickered with data streams too fast for the human eye to follow, and at the center of it all, a swirling vortex of light that Sarah assumed was the quantum entanglement matrix. "This is incredible," Sarah breathed, her fingers itching to explore, to understand. Vexlor's skin rippled with what Sarah guessed was annoyance. "It is the pinnacle of Zarthian achievement, yes. And now it is failing for reasons we cannot fathom." Sarah approached the main control interface, her eyes darting from display to display. Most of it was incomprehensible, but here and there she caught glimpses of familiar patterns, echoes of the designs she'd sketched late at night in her tiny apartment. "I'll need to study your systems, learn how they work," Sarah said, her mind already formulating theories and potential solutions. "It won't be quick, but I promise you, I'll do everything in my power to help." Sarah and Vexlor exchanged glances. "We have less than 3 cycles," Sarah said gravely. "After that, the collapse of the matrix will be irreversible." Sarah's heart sank as she realized the immense pressure she was under. The fate of an entire alien civilization, and possibly the galaxy, rested on her shoulders. And she had less than 3 days to solve a problem that had stumped the most advanced beings in the universe. As the Zarthians left her to begin her work, Sarah took a deep breath, pushing aside her doubts and fears. This was what she was born for, what all those nights of lonely study and rejected ideas had prepared her for. "All right, universe," she muttered, cracking her knuckles as she faced the swirling vortex of the matrix. "Let's dance." Unraveling the mystery. The hum of alien technology filled Sarah's ears as she pored over the holographic displays. 48 hours had passed since her arrival on Nexus Prime, and she had barely slept or eaten. The Zarthians watched her with a mixture of curiosity and impatience, their initial skepticism slowly giving way to desperate hope. "This doesn't make sense," Sarah muttered, her fingers dancing through the air as she manipulated the 3D models of the quantum entanglement matrix. "According to your data, the system should be stable. There's no reason for this level of degradation." Vexlor hovered nearby, his tentacles twitching with anxiety. "We've run every diagnostic, applied every known solution. Nothing works." Sarah nodded absently, her mind racing. She'd spent the first day just trying to understand the basics of Zarthian technology, translating their advanced concepts into terms she could grasp. It was like trying to explain calculus to a caveman, and she was the caveman. But as the hours ticked by, patterns began to emerge. The quantum entanglement matrix wasn't just a power source or a communication system. It was the foundation of Zarthian civilization, a technology so advanced it bordered on the metaphysical. "I need to see it," Sarah said suddenly, turning to Vexlor. "Not just the data, not the models. I need to see the actual matrix core." The alien engineer recoiled slightly. "Impossible. The energies involved would destroy your primitive nervous system instantly. Sarah felt a flicker of annoyance at the constant reminders of her primitive nature. Then figure out a way to shield me. I can't solve this problem just staring at your fancy holograms. I need to see how it all fits together. After hours of debate and frantic preparations, Sarah found herself standing before the swirling vortex of the Matrix core. She was encased in a protective suit that looked like it was made of liquid metal, conforming perfectly to her body. "Remember, human," Zixara's voice crackled through the comm system. "You have 10 minutes before the shielding fails. Do not touch anything. Simply observe and report back." Sarah took a deep breath and stepped forward. The moment she entered the chamber, her senses were assaulted by impossible geometries and colors that shouldn't exist. It was like standing inside a living kaleidoscope, every surface thrumming with energy. As her eyes adjusted, Sarah began to see beyond the chaos. Patterns emerged, flows of energy that reminded her of fluid dynamics. And there, at the heart of it all, was something that made her gasp. It's not just technology," she whispered, awe overwhelming her. "It's alive." The quantum entanglement matrix wasn't just a machine. It was a living, breathing entity, a cosmic consciousness that the Zarthians had somehow tapped into and shaped to their will. And now, that consciousness was in pain. As the realization hit her, Sarah felt a jolt of energy coursed through her body. For a split second, she was one with the Matrix, experiencing its vast awareness, its joy at connection, and its current agony. "Get her out of there." Vexilor's panicked voice echoed through the chamber. Sarah felt hands grabbing her, pulling her back into the relative normality of the engineering bay. As the protective suit was removed, Sarah's mind raced with the implications of what she'd seen. The Zarthians crowded around her, demanding explanations, but she barely heard them. "You don't understand what you've created," she said finally, her voice filled with wonder and horror. "Your quantum entanglement matrix, it's not just a tool. It's a sentient being, spanning galaxies. And you're killing it." Silence fell over the chamber. Zixara stepped forward, her 4 eyes blinking in confusion. "Impossible. We designed the matrix. We built it from nothing." Sarah shook her head. "No, you didn't. You found something ancient and vast, and you shaped it to your will. But you never understood what it truly was. And now it's dying because it can't sustain the demands you're placing on it." The implications were staggering. The entire Zarthian civilization was built on the back of a cosmic entity they had enslaved without even realizing it. Their vaunted technology, their mastery over time and space, all of it was due to the willing cooperation of a being they had never acknowledged. "If what you say is true," Vexilor said slowly, "then how do we fix it? How do we stabilize the matrix?" Sarah's mind was already racing with possibilities. "We need to communicate with it, to understand its needs. You've been treating it like a machine, but it needs to be treated like a living being." The next few hours were a flurry of activity. Sarah worked alongside the Zarthian engineers, combining their advanced technology with her intuitive understanding of the matrix's true nature. They rigged up a communication system, a bridge between the cosmic consciousness of the matrix and their own minds. As the deadline loomed ever closer, Sarah prepared to make contact. The fate of galaxies hung in the balance, dependent on her ability to communicate with a being so vast and alien that even the Zarthians couldn't comprehend it. "Here goes nothing," Sarah muttered, as she activated the interface. Her consciousness expanded, merging with the matrix, and for a moment, she touched the infinite. In that eternal instant, Sarah Chen, a human engineer from Earth, became the ambassador for all living beings to a cosmic entity beyond imagination, and the future of the universe hinged on her ability to forge an understanding between 2 radically different forms of existence. As Zixara and Vexilor watched anxiously, Sarah's body went rigid, her eyes glowing with an inner light. The battle for the future of the galaxy was being waged not with weapons or technology, but with empathy, understanding, and the uniquely human ability to bridge seemingly insurmountable gaps. The fate of civilizations hung in the balance, awaiting the outcome of this impossible dialogue. Race against time. Sarah's consciousness swam in an ocean of pure information. The Matrix entity communicated not in words or images, but in concepts so vast and complex that her human mind struggled to comprehend them. Yet, somehow, she understood. The entity was curious, lonely, and in pain. For eons, it had drifted through the cosmos, seeking connection. The Zarthian's technology had given it that connection, but at a terrible price. The demands placed upon it were too great, too constraining. It was like forcing a whale to live in a fishbowl. With what felt like Herculean effort, Sarah managed to convey their situation, the impending collapse of Zarthian civilization, and the ripple effect it would have across the galaxy. The entity's response was a wave of sorrow and concern. Suddenly, Sarah was jolted back to her physical body. She gasped, her eyes flying open to see the concerned faces of Zixera and Vexlor hovering over her. "What happened? Did you make contact?" Zixera demanded. Sarah nodded weakly, her mind still reeling from the experience. "Yes, but we don't have much time. The entity, the Matrix, it wants to help, but we need to make changes. Massive changes." As Sarah explained what she had learned, the Zarthians' expressions ranged from disbelief to horror to grudging acceptance. The realization that their entire civilization was built on the unintended exploitation of a cosmic being was a bitter pill to swallow. "We need to redesign the entire system," Sarah said, her fingers flying over the holographic controls. "We can't keep forcing the entity to conform to our needs. We need to work with it, to create a symbiotic relationship rather than a parasitic one." Vexlor's tentacles writhed in agitation. "But that would require rebuilding our entire infrastructure. It's impossible in the time we have left." Sarah's eyes gleamed with determination. "Nothing's impossible. We just need to think outside the box." What followed was a frenzy of activity unlike anything Nexus Prime had ever seen. Sarah's unconventional ideas, combined with Zarthian technology and the willing cooperation of the Matrix entity, led to solutions that defied conventional physics. They worked tirelessly, Sarah's human intuition and creativity, complementing the Zarthians' vast knowledge and technological prowess. Slowly, a new system began to take shape, one that would allow the Matrix entity to thrive while still supporting Zarthian civilization. But as the deadline loomed ever closer, they hit a snag. "The power requirements for the transition are too high," Vexlor announced, his voice tinged with despair. "We don't have enough energy to implement the changes before the collapse." Sarah stared at the problem, her mind racing. They were so close, but without enough power, it would all be for nothing. Then, a crazy idea struck her. "What if we use the collapse itself as a power source?" she suggested. The Zarthians looked at her as if she had lost her mind. "Explain," Zixera commanded. Sarah's words tumbled out in a rush of excitement. "The collapse is releasing an enormous amount of energy. If we can harness that energy and channel it back into the system, we might have just enough power to complete the transition." It was a risky plan, akin to using the energy from a collapsing building to construct a new one in its place. But it was their only chance. As the hours ticked down to minutes, the entire station hummed with tension. Sarah stood at the main control interface, her hands hovering over the controls. Zixera and Vexlor flanked her, ready to lend their expertise. "On my mark," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the weight of galaxies on her shoulders. 3, 2, 1. Now. She activated the sequence. For a terrifying moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the entire station shuddered. Alarms blared as systems began to overload. "It's not working," Vexlor cried out. "The collapse is accelerating." But Sarah's eyes were fixed on a small readout in the corner of the display. "No, wait. Look." A tiny spark of energy, different from the chaos surrounding it, had appeared in the heart of the matrix. It grew slowly at first, then faster, feeding on the energy of the collapse. "It's working," Sarah breathed. "The entity is helping us." The next few minutes were a blur of frantic adjustments and split-second decisions. Sarah, Zixara, and Vexlor worked in perfect harmony, guiding the transformation as the old system crumbled and the new one took shape. Just when it seemed the station would tear itself apart, everything went silent. The holographic displays flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. For a long, terrible moment, they stood in the dark, wondering if they had failed. Then, slowly, lights began to come back on. But they were different, softer, more organic somehow. New holographic displays sprang to life, showing a system unlike anything the Zarthians had ever seen. At its heart was the Matrix entity, now visibly pulsing with life and vitality. "We did it," Sarah said, her voice filled with awe. "We actually did it." As the full implications of what they had accomplished sank in, Zixara turned to Sarah, her four eyes blinking in what might have been the Zarthian equivalent of tears. "Sarah Chen of Earth," she said solemnly, "you have saved not just our civilization, but countless others across the galaxy. We owe you a debt we can never repay." Sarah smiled, exhaustion and elation warring within her. "Just doing my job," she said, "though I think I'm due for a pretty spectacular raise after this." As laughter, both human and alien, filled the chamber, Sarah knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Humanity had proven itself on a galactic stage, and the universe had just gotten a whole lot bigger. Triumph of human ingenuity. In the days that followed the miraculous salvation of Nexus Prime, the Zarthian Empire found itself in a state of profound transformation. The implications of Sarah Chen's breakthrough rippled across the galaxy, reshaping not just technology, but philosophy, culture, and the very nature of interstellar relations. Sarah stood before the Zarthian High Council, feeling both out of place and strangely at home. The chamber, once a testament to cold, mechanical precision, now pulsed with a warm, organic energy. The Matrix entity's presence could be felt everywhere, a benevolent consciousness that suffused every aspect of Zarthian technology. "The key," Sarah explained, gesturing to the new, organic-looking displays, "is to think of your technology not as a tool to be used, but as a partner to be collaborated with. The Matrix entity isn't just a power source or a computational system. It's a living being with its own desires and needs." Zixara nodded, her scales shimmering with a new humility. "We have much to learn, it seems. Our arrogance nearly doomed us all." As Sarah continued her explanation, she couldn't help but marvel at how quickly the Zarthians had adapted. Their vast intelligence, once narrowly focused on domination and control, was now turned towards understanding and cooperation. The results were astounding. Already, the benefits of the new system were becoming apparent. The redesigned Nexus Prime was more efficient than ever, but in a way that nurtured the Matrix entity rather than exploiting it. The entity, in turn, had opened up new avenues of exploration and understanding that the Zarthians had never dreamed possible. "There are whole dimensions of reality we never knew existed," Vexlor admitted, his tentacles waving in excitement. "The entity is showing us wonders beyond our comprehension." But it wasn't just the Zarthians who were changed by the experience. As news of Sarah's achievement spread, the galaxy's perception of humanity underwent a seismic shift. Diplomats from 100 worlds clamored to meet the human who had saved the Zarthian Empire. Scientists and engineers from across the cosmos sought her insight, eager to learn the human way of problem-solving that had succeeded where advanced alien logic had failed. Sarah found herself at the center of a galactic revolution in thought. Her unique blend of scientific knowledge, intuitive understanding, and creative problem-solving became the foundation for a new field of study: cosmic empathic engineering. As she stood on the observation deck of Nexus Prime, gazing out at the star-studded expanse of the galaxy, Sarah felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Zixara. the alien's expression unreadable. "We have received a transmission from your Earth," Zixara said. "They are quite interested in your whereabouts." Sarah couldn't help but laugh. In all the excitement, she had almost forgotten about her home planet. "I suppose I have some explaining to do." Zixara's scales rippled in what Sarah had come to recognize as amusement. "Indeed. But first, we have a proposition for you." The alien gestured, and a holographic document appeared in the air between them. "The Zarthian Empire would like to offer you the position of chief liaison between our civilizations. You would be the bridge between humanity and the wider galactic community." Sarah's eyes widened as she scanned the document. The role would involve not just continuing her work with the Matrix entity, but also helping to guide humanity's entry onto the galactic stage. It was an opportunity beyond her wildest dreams. "This is incredible," Sarah breathed. "But what about Earth? They're not ready for this level of technology." Zixara nodded sagely. "Which is why we need you. Sarah Chen, your species has something unique, something we had forgotten in our pursuit of technological perfection. You have the ability to connect, to empathize, to see patterns where we see only chaos. We need that perspective if we are to move forward together." As Sarah considered the offer, she felt a familiar spark of excitement. The challenge ahead was enormous, but wasn't that what she had always dreamed of? A chance to make a real difference, to push the boundaries of what was possible. "I accept," Sarah said, her voice firm with conviction. "On one condition." Zixara tilted her head curiously. "And that is?" Sarah grinned. "I want to establish a galactic engineering academy, a place where humans, Zarthians, and any other species can come together to learn from each other. We'll combine the best of all our knowledge and perspectives." Zixara's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of surprise and approval. "An ambitious proposal. But after what you've accomplished, I don't think anyone in the galaxy would dare call it impossible." As they shook hands, or in Zixara's case, tentacles, to seal the deal, Sarah felt a sense of profound rightness. This was what she had been working towards all her life, even if she hadn't known it. A chance to explore, to learn, to push the boundaries of what was possible. In that moment, Sarah Chen, once an underappreciated mechanic from Earth, became a symbol of humanity's potential. She represented the best of what her species had to offer: creativity, perseverance, and the ability to forge connections across even the vastest of divides. As news of the Galactic Engineering Academy spread, a new era of cooperation and understanding dawned. Humanity, once considered a primitive species barely worth noticing, was now at the forefront of a revolution in thought that would reshape the cosmos. And it all started because one human refused to believe in the impossible, choosing instead to think outside the box, or in this case, outside the galaxy. The stars twinkled in the viewport, each one a promise of new adventures and discoveries to come. Sarah Chen, human engineer and now galactic diplomat, smiled. The future was bright, and the universe was waiting.